The Downtown Rams podcast is brought to you by Rams On Demand, Seat Giant, Vibe 305, and RWO, Rams World Order. Now enjoy the show.
Down the middle, to the end zone, caught by Brandon Cooks. Shoot your arrows.
It picks. Nickel Roby Coleman
throws. Enzo caught, touchdown. Tyler Higbee. Cooper Kupp walks it out of the air and gives the Rams the lead. LaMarcus Joyner returns to the lineup with an interception in London. 35-30. Robert Wood, first down 20. 10-5. Touchdown. LA. No, it's Goff who keeps it. And Goff goes crashing into the end zone. Aaron Donald almost beat the football there and comes away with his third sack of the afternoon. Met immediately and sacked. Corey Littleton, have yourself a day. And he gets gobbled up. Savage has to eat it as Michael Brockers picks up the sack. He's decked by Ebu Tom. Picked off. Marcus Peters strutting his stuff. Mark Barron the last 4 weeks has been a Pro Bowler. Oh, it's picked off on the play by John Johnson. After the throw, and we mentioned that is his 8th completed pass in his career. Cousins sacked. Ndamukong Suh. Of all the guys, it's the rookie John Franklin Myers who knocks it out of Cousins' right hand. Todd Gurley, 20, 10, Gurley for MVP. Touchdown LA.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Alexis Kraft. I'm here with Jake Ellenbogen. This is the Downtown Rams podcast episode 162. We are here tonight. We got a lot of cool things happening. We're going to have an interview with Kansas State offensive lineman Dalton Risner later in the episode. But for now, Jake and I are going to do a bad takes portion of the episode where we go back and analyze bad takes that we have tweeted in the past. It's going to be fun. We're going to make fun of ourselves. And I can't wait for it. Mostly to make fun of you, Jake, but also to make fun of myself.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a blast. I mean, obviously, I do think we need to pat ourselves on the back. I was going through some of your good takes, and we're not going to have a good takes podcast because that's kind of weird. So, just
we don't like to brag.
Yeah, exactly. So, just kind of having fun with, our total misses, and we know what we hit on, and I mean, that's the good thing, but, I think it's time to dive into what we didn't hit on, and we'll go one by one. So you share your first one there.
All right. So my first bad take of many is from April 26, 2012, when I said, Rams are stupid. Why would you trade the second overall pick? #dumb.
So we're starting off with this, and oh my God.
Which was when the Rams traded the pick so that the Redskins could get.
I just can't get over #dumb.
#dumb. Let's print. It's vintage Twitter. That was when hashtags were still really relevant.
Yeah. Oh my God. I don't even know. That's funny.
Okay, moving on from that.
So for me, I'm going to start this off with my Tavon Austin love. I believe Tavon Austin is better than DeAndre Hopkins in this draft. So that was one of my takes. I love Tavon, got a picture with him after the game against the Giants. But, yeah.
Crash and burn.
Yeah.
How are we supposed to know?
I don't know. I mean, we will have, after we do our bad takes, we will have, everyone else's that, or the nice people anyway, that wanted to integrate themselves into our podcast. So we're ready, after we drop our bad takes, those of you who are listening, anxiously waiting to hear your bad take, it's coming. We'll do it after, and we'll do the little mailbag section of the bad takes. So now you're on to yours. So what am I laughing at now?
In response to the Rams drafting Todd Gurley, what ? Exclamation point. What ! Rams, multiple exclamation points, Todd Gurley, multiple explanation points. What? Question mark, question mark, question mark. My interpretation of that, because I was there and I know what I was thinking, was I can't believe we did that. I hate that pick.
It's so
and that was in all caps. Let me just clarify, all capital letters.
I mean, he was injured, and like I get that. I would honestly say, looking back and what I thought on that draft, I mean, I was kind of interested in Devontae Parker, but I didn't love anybody in the draft except for Lyle Collins, really. So, and I really liked Winston, but he wasn't an option. So I don't know. I mean, my number one running back in that class was Melvin Gordon, and as much as I want to say that's a bad take, I mean, it's really not, because those are the two best running backs in that class. And I mean, Melvin Gordon has kind of carved himself into one of the elite running backs. So I don't know. I mean, I can't say I totally fault you on that. I mean, it's a bad take, but it was a bold pick, and that you're either going to love it or hate it. So
right.
Moving on to me, I was all for bringing in Todd Bowles, defensive coordinator for the Miami Dolphins at the time. I did not want Jeff Fisher. I wanted Todd Bowles. Now, I think it's a bad take in a sense, because I'm not saying Jeff Fisher did more than what Todd Bowles would have done, but it's not like Bowles was any better. And Jeff Fisher at least won 7 games. I mean, like, Todd Bowles was not. I mean, I like the guy as a defensive coordinator, but he wasn't very good with the Jets.
I'm not gonna lie. When you read that, chills went down my spine.
Ooh.
I don't like it.
Todd Bowles and Jeff Fisher are both.
I don't like Todd Bowles. I don't really like either, but I really don't like Todd Bowles. But whatever. It happens.
Moving on.
May 1st, 2015, I tweeted, I want the Rams to get Jalen Strong or Dorial Green Beckham.
Oh my God. I was so into Dorial Green Beckham. Like,
Me too. Me too.
I mean, I would probably throw one that I didn't write down that you just reminded me of, my love for Sean Oakman. I was just like, this guy looks so ripped, and I don't know. I didn't have the football mind I had, I didn't have the football mind that I have now back then. So, like, I would say things like that, or I would look at, like, a Bleacher Report article, and this guy benched a lot. So I'd be like, oh, he's really strong, and, I think he makes a lot of sense for the Rams. Like, it'd be something like that. So
I have another, later on, I'll have another Dorial Green Beckham tweet. I'm going chronologically, so I'll have another one.
Okay, she's way more prepared than me in that sense. I have a huge list, but it's not chronological at all. So sorry. The next one, why on earth would you draft John Johnson III in the 3rd round? So hear me out here. The guy that I actually wanted them to draft at safety, I wanted them to wait and get him, Desmond King. Now, he's turned into one of the best young defensive backs in the NFL. And, I mean, he could arguably be better than John Johnson. I mean, that's an argument that you could make. But regardless, John Johnson panned out. And John Johnson's been a lot better than I expected. I had him more of a 5th-round grade, and I just didn't like the pick. And I felt like he was kind of slow. But his play speed in the NFL, I don't know what it is, but he has really made me look stupid about that. So, props to him.
Yeah.
And I was able to meet him as well, so then I felt really bad because he's a super nice guy and got a picture with him. So, yeah, I couldn't tell him. I didn't have enough time to really, explain to him that, he proved me wrong. But,
Wow, I bet you just feel terrible.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. My next tweet is from September 5th, 2015, and this is in all capital letters.
Oh, boy.
Tebow to the Rams, please.
Oh, no. No.
And this was in 2015.
No.
I know. Okay. I was a big Tebow fan. So, I thought it would make sense at the time.
So I'd like to shout Tim Tebow out because we had a really big we had a tragedy in when I went to Shenandoah High School, and in my area. And my friend, I haven't talked to him in a while, but my friend at the time, Matt Hardy, was involved. You might have actually heard about this because it went all throughout the country. Was involved in a car accident where he lost his girlfriend, and it was kind of this double date, and him and Matt Hardy and Bailey Wind were the two that made it out from the car accident. And obviously they've gone on to live great lives, and it was a really sad time for our community. And I just have to say this because Tim Tebow gets so much flack, and to me, I look at it like this is somebody that is getting made fun of because he wants to play baseball and he might be better at football. Or this is somebody that won a playoff game. He beat the Steelers. But this is even, more so just an incredible individual. All Matt Hardy wanted to do was basically, that was his favorite players, Tim Tebow. And so, in response, our whole community tweeted out to Tim Tebow to get, Matt Hardy at a game. And Tim Tebow brought him to a game and ended up hanging out with him. So, I say that, back when he was with the Jets, I thought it was very classy, and I hate to kind of, throw a really serious spin on kind of a silly show, but, you mentioned Tebow, and that always hits me, when people, hate on him. I just have to throw that story out there because, it was a huge hit for our, small community over here. And, Tebow was, nice enough to, take Matt to a Jets game and pretty much put him right in the front row and have a good time with him. So, it was just really cool for sure.
Yeah, he really is a good guy. So I'm not, obviously this tweet is a bad take in the sense football wise, not great, but as a person, I still love Tim Tebow.
Yeah. And that wasn't for you. That was for the people that are like, "Oh, Tim Tebow sucks," and he's
right.
a joke. And I'm like, he's also one of the greatest college football players of all time. Let's not forget that.
Very true. And but yeah, still not proud that I tweeted this. Still not. It is what it is.
Yeah. Oh well. Moving on. Here's the quotation marks from one of the tweets. Mark my words. Now, anytime you see this, it's normally not good. Mark my words. These guys are going to be great from this draft. Mike Thomas Rams, Javon Hargrave Steelers, and Sheldon Day Jaguars. To break this down, Mike Thomas, I think, has caught less than 10 passes in his Rams career, in his NFL career total. Javon Hargrave is somebody that is a starter for the Steelers, and he's a guy that I think is a really good interior defensive lineman that's a good piece for them. So I think I did get that right. But Sheldon Day, I think he's on the 49ers. I don't know. He's kind of bounced around the league, and he's nowhere near what I thought he was going to be coming out of Notre Dame. So this is a quote-unquote bad take. Obviously, you're probably grading it, I'd say 1 out of 3 because Javon Hargrave hit, but I like Mike Thomas, and maybe someday he'll find it, but battled by injury constantly, and then the PEDs, and it's just not a good take.
I have a tweet later on about Hargraves.
Not Vernon Hargraves, Javon Hargrave. But I was also huge on Vernon Hargraves.
Yeah, maybe that's who my tweet. I would think that's who my tweet is about. I didn't clarify, but either one, yeah. Well, I don't know if that's necessarily a bet. That's up for debate.
Yeah, I guess.
So my next tweet, and a lot of these tweets are basically, I think, going to be people who I think that the Rams should get, who thankfully they're smarter than me and didn't. But upon hearing of Hakeem Nick's release on September 5th, 2015, I said, Hakeem Nicks to the Rams.
2015 is just he was not very good at that point.
No, but I just see him in his prime. I was trying to, just that image is always going to be in my head. But yeah, bad take.
I wanted what's his face, Victor Cruz. I kind of pounded the table for the UMass kid. So,
Yep, I have a Cruz tweet coming up as well.
I mean, keep in mind, this is after. Like, I'm not gonna pat myself on the back because this is not. Oh, I found Victor Cruz. This is like after he had the injury and he wasn't the same with the Giants. Like, I was like, oh, maybe he'll magically be good with the Rams. I don't know, but
right.
This year, guys, since we said this wasn't, well, I said this wasn't in chronological order. Alexis, on the other hand, is doing a damn good job. So, Rams versus Packers NFC title game. Rams versus Steelers Super Bowl. That was my preseason pick. And we all know, even with Aaron Rodgers, the Packers couldn't make the playoffs. And the Steelers, with really no injuries, and they just lost, Le'Veon Bell. I mean, that was about it. But I think, they were fine without Bell. The running game still was fine. They missed the playoffs as well. So, not great. I mean, I know I got the Rams correct in the NFC title game and the Super Bowl, but I still don't think that's a good take. I think it's a bad take.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, yeah, two teams that everybody thought, I think would make the playoffs, in Packers and Steelers. But okay, this is another one, kind of like the one I just said. November 2015. This is me responding to news that the Bears might trade Eddie Royal to the Rams.
Oh my God!
Does he even play anymore?
No,
I don't
no
think
way.
he does. No. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Bad
I liked
take.
Eddie Royal. He was somebody I always liked, but that's all I can think of. Oh, my favorite this week, or this year, Le'Veon Bell will come back week 4. That didn't happen.
Little did we know. But I don't think you were alone in that. I think a lot of people kind of thought he'd be back.
I just think it's funny. I picked a week and I just like, oh, he'll be back week 4. Like, I looked, I was trying to look for the context in that, and it was just like, wow, you're a dingus. Like, you really just said week 4.
My next one is, again, another, this was before the draft. In 2016, I said, Treadwell to the Rams, referring to, he went to the Vikings. I forget, what's his first name again? It starts with an L. You see, now I don't even remember, but I was so
Laquan?
Yeah, it's Laquan.
Oh, yeah.
I was so into Treadwell. I think I watched like one game that he played with Mississippi, I believe is who he played for, and I was like, that's the guy. That's who we're going to take.
Not impressed. He was lumbering. He was slow. He wasn't a good route runner. Wasn't my guy. But I tipped it off to be like Josh Doxson, wide receiver number 1. And, well, I mean, we were talking about him during our draft podcast, because the Redskins, I forget who drafted him. Someone drafted Marquise Brown of the Redskins. And that was why I was talking about Doxson. I think Doxson could still work, but I was so sure that he was like can't miss, and I was wrong on that.
I actually like Doxson as well. Didn't quite work out, but
that wasn't the greatest receiver draft.
Yeah, well, literally
Michael Thomas was the best out of that, and I will say I was a huge Michael Thomas fan out of Ohio State, but his actions this offseason and like the whole playoffs and the way he's just kind of like not taking a win like a normal professional, I don't like him anymore, and that's kind of sad.
Yeah, he's a guy who I really liked because he did something for a company that I really like called U Stadium. He was on the app and he took time and went and did a Q&A, and I was a big fan of his. But then, I was a little bit disappointed with the antics this off season. I found it disappointing, but that's how it goes. my next one is literally, I tweeted this. So the one I just said was Treadwell to the Rams, January. That was January 1st, 2016. On January 2nd, 2016, I said, I already know who I want my team to draft. ... Treadwell heart emoji.
Oh my God, this Treadwell.
I was really into Treadwell. What can I say?
Hashtag jumps off a bridge.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hashtag not dumb.
Yeah, so no. But I mean, this isn't even dumber take. Deshaun Watson should move to running back. I just didn't like him in college, I'll be honest with you. I thought his throwing motion was awful. I hated his mechanics. I watched 17 games of his on film, and I just didn't see anything that would intrigue me. And maybe I was just so hard on him because, I don't know, don't tell Alex this, but I don't really like Clemson. But I don't know. Well, I don't mind them anymore. I didn't like them then for some reason. I don't know why, but I just didn't feel like Deshaun Watson was a franchise quarterback.
I was really big on Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I was. I hate to brag, but I was all Patrick Mahomes. So I guess my bad take kind of gets erased because of how good my good take was.
I don't know if that's how it works, but
I don't know. I think, when
we can
you hit
figure it
somebody
out.
like Patrick Mahomes, I went on the radio and I was asked Kaiser, Watson, or Trubisky, and I was like Mahomes.
Well, I'll give you credit because I was a big Kaiser. I mean, I was biased because I'm a Notre Dame fan, but I was a big Kaiser fan.
He was QB2 for me.
Yeah, little did we know. It's just crazy how things work out. My next take is, and you and I have talked about this before, but my next take is from April 30th, 2016. I said, I'm hoping that the Rams take Kenny Lawler, wide receiver from California, ... They seem to be capitalizing on the Cal picks anyway.
Oh my, yeah. So Kenny Lawler, I thought was like a no-brainer pick. And I remember being like infuriated that the Seahawks got him in the 6th round. I was like, oh, are you kidding me? This guy's going to show up day one, and he's going to win the starting job, and Russell Wilson's going to have Jared Goff's guy, and I'm so mad because of it. And then I don't know where Kenny Lawler is. I don't even think he's in the AAF or the CFL. So, it kind of goes to show you. I mean, sometimes these teams know a little bit more than you do.
Right.
I mean, with that being said, I had another funny one with Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson will win the MVP. And then so here's the hilarious thing. So I was Deshaun Watson MVP guy, right? Comes off the ACL tear. I just feel like that dynamic, player that could win the MVP. And then the guy that I had as the better prospect, my number one quarterback, wins the MVP, and I didn't pick him because I felt in the trap with everyone else. Well, I know Mahomes is going to be a superstar, which I can't stand when people say that because no one believed Mahomes would be a superstar the way he is right now. I was a huge fan of his, and I did believe, it would take a few years to get to that level. But I fell into that trap where, well, he's just not ready yet, and this is a lot to take on. And I think they're going to need Alex Smith, but they won't have him, so I have the Chiefs not making the playoffs or something. And, oh my God. So,
yeah.
If I just stuck by my guns, I probably could have said Mahomes, but, I had to go with the cute pick with Deshaun Watson, who wasn't even my guy in the draft, and that's what happens when you don't stick to your guns, folks.
True. I accidentally skipped this one, and this was right before the draft. I said top 5 picks in the 2016 NFL draft, and then I named the player and who I thought that they were going to go to. I said Tunsil, and then I had Titans. I had Wentz, and then I had Browns. But this was before I think the Rams traded up and got that number 1. Bosa, Chargers, and Hargraves, Jaguars. So not looking at the teams aspect that I picked, I thought that Tunsil was going to be the best guy.
Yeah, Tunsil to me was like a can't miss left tackle, so I guess I would kind of put him there as well. I mean, he's been all right, but he's not.
Well, and then he had all that drama like on the day of the draft, and that affected things. And then
yeah, and then the Dolphins drafted him, the same team that had the Coke taking linebacker coach or whatever. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know, but
whatevs.
Yeah, whatevs. OBJ will be a Ram. Okay, so this is funny because it kind of goes to show you where you're told something, it's not necessarily guaranteed. This is this is an NFL. This is a league where you can find out information, and in 2 minutes it changes. And that's really what happened with OBJ, because really what ended up happening was that the Rams were interested in trading for Odell Beckham Jr. They wanted to give up either Rob Havenstein in a first or Cooper Kupp in a first, and I think really they would have leaned towards Cooper Kupp. I know they wanted to sign Rob Havenstein long term. So anyway, to make a long story short, the Giants, that whole Adam Schefter report comes out. The Giants are looking for 2 first-round picks, and the Rams were like, "All right, this is too much to trade for Odell Beckham Jr." And they decided to kind of look into it, and they found the stuff they found. They obviously like the player, they like him, but there was so much risk involved to give up 2 first-round picks for a guy that you would have to pay top dollar, just like an Aaron Donald. 1, 2. He was coming off in his ankle injury where his ankle really shattered. And 3, they don't like his nightlife routines. So, and keep in mind, you're not gonna find a more pro OBJ guy than me. But I do think it was like understandable. Being a team in LA, you didn't want a guy with a huge nightlife routine, and somebody that you are constantly worried about. Going out and being on TMZ, you don't want him in LA. So I do get that to a degree, but I mean, would I take him right now? Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think that's that bad of a take. I mean, a lot of people thought that was going to happen, and some people still think it's going to happen. I don't know. I love him. He's my favorite receiver. Anybody who follows me on social media knows I'm always tweeting about him, how much I love him. But I actually want him to stay on the Giants, and that's probably because the Giants are my second team. But I just think, I think his fit is going to be better there when they get it figured out. And I think we already have kind of a good deal going. I don't know. If he wants to come to the Rams, why not? I'm a fan of his wherever. But
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've told you this. He's my favorite non-Ram in the NFL.
Yeah, I agree. Same. And speaking of the Giants, my next take, this is from December 2016. I said, would I be crazy to say that the New York Giants are winning the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Yep, I was. I
remember when I thought that the Rams were going to make the playoffs like every year.
Well, yeah, see, and I didn't. What I should have mentioned, what I haven't included in here is like every year me saying, this is the Rams' year, or something along that line. There was too many of them to say.
Yeah, no, I hear you there. Pierre Garçon, A.J. Boye, and Kyle Fuller. Apparently the Rams are just going to sign every free agent that I like. I predicted Pierre Garçon, Robert Woods, and then I predicted A.J. Boye and another corner that I forget. I forget what corner I predicted with A.J. Boye, but Pierre Garçon and Boye. Boye ends up going to the Jaguars. Pierre Garçon goes to the 49ers. Could the Rams realistically go out and get Garçon now? Absolutely. He's probably going to end up being a free agent, but Kyle Fuller was recent, and they decided to go and trade for Aqib Talib and Marcus Peters. So, I mean, I guess it wasn't that bad of a take, and but I don't know. You didn't get it right. It's bad take, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, Jake, bad take. Wow. I have a little thing now that I like to call the Kevin White saga.
Oh, no.
I was in love with Kevin White the receiver from West Virginia who ended up going to the Bears and is still on the Bears but has barely played. On February 21st, 2015, I tweeted, Kevin White is a stud. Rams need him. Hashtag NFL Combine. A few days later, on March 1st, I tweeted, Kevin White is my favorite receiver in the draft. On the day of the draft, this was the year that we drafted Gurley at 10. The Bears picked 7th, I believe. It might have been 8th. We all know what happened. The Bears took Kevin White. Basically, I could. You wouldn't know what I was talking about if you just looked at my Twitter, but I know what it was. It was just me going, no, several times. The context to that is me crying my eyes out because we didn't get Kevin White. And now look at what Kevin White has become. Bad take. It's just a terrible take on my part. Definitely was not right about. I thought Kevin White was going to be a Hall of Famer. So that's what I like to call the Kevin White saga. He broke my heart into a million pieces when he went to the Bears, and even more so when he didn't turn out to be as good as I thought he was going to be.
Yeah. So the Rams will beat the Patriots in Super Bowl 52, a prediction I made at the end of the regular season in 2017, and the Rams lost in the first round to the Falcons. Yeah. Bad take.
Yeah. It's hard to be like, because of course, like we make all these takes and they're bad takes, but we gotta give ourselves some grace. We're Rams fans. Of course, we think that our team is gonna, like what else are we supposed to say, right?
Yeah.
My next bad take is in response to news that the Jets were wanting to trade Muhammad Wilkerson, trade with the Rams, and then in all caps, please. So I'm glad that we didn't do that.
Muhammad Wilkerson. Interesting. So I am a huge fan of like those underdog guys. I love UDFAs, so I guess a good take of mine would have been Corey Littleton will be a starting player in for the Rams when they signed him, and that happened. But I just this is bad. Marcus Roberson is going to be a star. Alex Hoffman Ellis is going to start at linebacker against with James Laurinaitis. Probably most of you don't remember his name, and if you do, look him up because nostalgia trips are awesome. And then Jabril Washington, the backup defensive back for Alabama. I was like, there's no way the Rams can't bring Jabril Washington on. And my buddy Brian Randolph, Randy Boy, who was called Rhino on Hard Knocks and didn't like that nickname at all. He kept telling me, don't call me that. And the thing that sucks about him is that I just think he didn't get a fair shake because of the knee injuries. But yeah, they didn't. I said that Brian Randolph would probably be a starting free safety, and I don't
even remember who that is.
Tennessee guy, hit really hard, leader.
Oh,
ball skills.
Maybe. Yeah. Did he? Oh no, I kind of think didn't he also have a brother who played for Tennessee?
No. You know what's I probably shouldn't bring this up on the podcast. I'm not trying to start rivalries or anything, but I think it was funny because I never got the interview with Brian Randolph, and that was my guy. And then the guy that does like Ram Showcase, he ended up taking him from me, like because I basically, I was telling him about trying to get an interview with Brian Randolph, and at this point I had never done any interviews with any players, so this is my first go at it. And then he ended up stealing Brian Randolph, and I never got him on the show. He would DM me all the time, and like he would give me updates on how camp was going, but never got him on the show. And Rams Showcase guy did, so I won't name him. But,
the nerve.
So, I thought that was funny. It was there for the taking.
I can feel a bitterness, like the undertone of bitterness in your voice. Like I can tell it hurts you, and that it's okay, Jake. You can be sad. You can be sad. We're being real.
I mean,
it's all right.
It
stings.
I'm trying not to. Yeah, I'm not gonna say it, but
I don't want to keep talking about it because you're gonna cry. So
no, it's no big deal. Over 100 interviews to single digits.
Right.
I'm all good.
Exactly. So my next pick, bad take is, in April 2016, I said the Rams need to trade Nick Foles for a third or fourth pick, especially because they've lost a ton of picks. Now, let me defend myself. At the end, Foles was not playing great for the Rams.
I didn't like Nick Foles at all. As a matter of fact, I wasn't happy with that trade. I felt like Sam Bradford was better than him. I also felt like trading Sam Bradford away could have netted you a first-round pick since, I don't know, a team did that not long after that. And then, just like I expected, Les Snead confirmed they were going to give us a first-round pick, but we wanted Nick, so we took the second and Nick instead of the first. And I would have taken the first all day, every day. Nick Foles has only worked in an Eagle uniform, and so I don't expect him to do anything signing anywhere else. I just, for whatever reason, he's only worked in Philly, and I'm just, I credit him for winning a Super Bowl, but God, I think he is very overrated, to the point where I think, if you're the Giants and you're seriously considering getting rid of the guy that won you 2 Super Bowls to replace him with Nick Foles, I don't know what else to say. I mean, again, did Nick Foles go off in the Super Bowl? Yes. Has Nick Foles shown up? Did he bring, the Eagles back to the playoffs this year? Yes. But, at the end of the day, if you're wearing a Nick Foles jersey over a Carson Wentz jersey, if you're, one of those people that, is an Eagles fan and you're telling, you're saying we should, move on from Carson Wentz and keep Nick Foles, I don't even know what to say. Don't even know what to say. So, that's what I feel about that.
I like Nick Foles a lot. I think I don't know if I fall into the camp of he's better than Wentz, but I do think he deserves to start somewhere. And I think he will. I just don't know where yet. But yeah, that's I think you're up, right?
Yeah. My next one, well, it was going to be Kenny Lawler. I think you hit the nail on the head, and I mean, we both really talked about that. So, I'll say Rams will draft Carson Wentz over Jared Goff. I was so convinced that the Rams were tipping their hand on purpose that they were going to draft Jared Goff, but I got to break it to my guy, Matt Miller of Bleacher Report. This is the first guy, as soon as they came out and they said everything, I mean, he stuck by his guns. He said when the Rams traded, some people think this is for Wentz. I'm told this is for Jared Goff, and I'm told it's not going to change. They like Goff more. They have a higher grade on Goff. It's for Goff, and he took a lot of crap for that. And somebody like Mike Silver of NFL Network was also really big on Jared Goff, but I think his Cal connections also kind of made him a little biased. To me, I looked at that and I'm like, this is just too obvious. Why would they be this obvious leaking all this information? Mm-hmm. The NFL then makes them wait to release the pick because they couldn't sign Jared Goff like in years past where the Carolina Panthers had already signed Cam Newton before the draft, or Andrew Luck had already signed with the Colts. So they didn't let the Rams even do that with not Bradford, Jared Goff, and I thought that was kind of weird. But yeah, it was very. I remember waking up and everyone was like, "You have the first overall pick," and I'm like, I don't know if I'm happy, mad, sad. I don't know what to feel. Because, I mean, I want Carson Wentz at that point, and I'm thinking, this is awesome. We have a chance at Carson Wentz, but what if we don't draft him? And the Rams don't end up drafting him, but hey, look, Carson Wentz is a Super Bowl champion. Jared Goff's not, but guess what? Carson Wentz did not win that Super Bowl on his own doing. That was more Nick Foles. So
Right.
Jared Goff is played in the Super Bowl. Wentz is not. And right now, it's tough, but durability concerns, you have to say that Goff has probably surpassed Wentz at this point.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. I agree with that.
So really, it was just a bad prediction take.
Right. Yeah. Well, my next one is just a pretty bad take. March 14th, 2017, I tweeted, Rams need to pick up Victor Cruz.
Wait, 2014, wasn't that?
No, 2017.
Oh.
Did I say 2014?
Oh my God! You might have said 2017. I didn't hear you.
Oh, sorry. It's March 14th, 2017.
No.
No. But see, that's just me being nostalgic, trying to see the old Victor Cruz. But nope, not realistic.
I mean, I guess if you hopped in a DeLorean and went back in time to Victor Cruz actually being able to do salsas in the end zone, then yeah, sure. The next one of mine, after kind of this longer list, RG3 to the Rams. Not in the draft. I was, unlike Alexis, I was actually a fan of not keeping the pick. A fan of trading the pick. The Redskins gave up way too much for a quarterback. But I'll say this. I think when you were, kind of in that middle ground before the Rams had drafted Jared Goff, right? Mm-hmm. We were talking about Peyton Manning, who was another one, Peyton Manning to the Rams. Peyton Manning, not Jared Goff. Peyton Manning, RG3, Paxton Lynch in the draft because the Rams had the 15th overall pick. Brock Osweiler. And there were all these guys, and yet I kept kind of like, I can see RG3 in a Rams uniform.
Yeah, and I think it's funny that I thought that was going to happen, and I was like, isn't it crazy that the Redskins gave up so much for him, and then he just still ends up a Ram? But I actually, another one, bad take that I don't have on here, but I was like a huge Paxton Lynch fan.
Paxton Lynch. So
I wanted him so bad.
I remember listening to Vinny Bonsignor and him talking about how Paxton Lynch is a guy that he felt would be the pick for the Rams at the time on the radio. And I kind of agreed with him. I felt like the Rams were in no man's land where they didn't want to trade up, because trading up from 15 to go down to 1 with the Tennessee Titans, who are absolutely going to want a fortune because they don't have to draft a quarterback, and they can take, the next best player, probably a Laramie Tunsil or something like that. So, I knew that was going to be difficult. So I just felt kind of the same thing, with Vinny, is like, look, Paxton Lynch might make the most sense there at 15, and that way you get your guy. But at the same time, I was kind of like, I like the idea of getting Connor Cook a little later, trading down and scooping picks. So I also thought that was a bad take on Connor Cook, because I didn't really like him that much. It was just, it was more, I need the position and I wanted more picks, because there are other guys, more bad takes as we, go through this. I wanted Braxton Miller in the second round, so. But that's how that went.
Is that me again?
That would be you again. I'm kind of plowing through these.
Yeah, okay, so here's my other Dorial Green Beckham. This was in June of 2017. Let me remind you, I said, the Rams should pick up Dorial Green Beckham.
Is that it?
Yeah. I don't know what it is about me and like terrible wide receivers that I just think the Rams needed all of them, apparently, because my next bad take is going to be another bad receiver. So I don't.
Is it about Michael Floyd?
No. Do you want me to read it?
Go ahead.
In March 2018, so less than a year ago, before this past season, in all capital letters, I said, Rams, get Jordy Nelson now.
Ugh.
And look at what he did. He was so terrible. I drafted him on my fantasy team. I thought he was going to be great with Oakland, and I dropped him after like week 4.
Yeah, so it's kind of along the lines, the same audience that were like, you need to pick up Eric Decker. I'm like, Eric Decker? No. But at the same time, I was one of those people, we have to pick up Jeremy Maclin. So,
I think I had a Maclin tweet, I'm sure, somewhere.
I love Jeremy Maclin, even though I watched him destroy Kansas back in the day. And,
he is from St. Louis, and he went to high school with my brother.
Oh, wow. How about that? It's a small world.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm sorry to do this to you. But, I mean, I really don't like Michael Floyd. I just have to say this because it's funny. You would have thought when the Rams had a chance at Justin Blackmon, who is probably one of my bad tweets, bad takes. There we go. I wanted Justin Blackmon, and that article that came out or whatever, the report that Jeff Fisher slammed his glass on the table when they, Justin Blackmon was, I guess the Jaguars traded up to get him, and then the Rams traded down with because I think this is the Brockers. Yeah, this is the Brockers draft. So the Rams trade down with the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys take Mo Claiborne. And then the Rams are sitting there, and they're looking at Michael Floyd. And they get Michael Brockers because Floyd gets picked right before them to Arizona. And I was like, thank God. Because I never understood the hype about Michael Floyd. I know he came from Notre Dame, and he was productive, but I just never understood it. He's somebody, his name just holds value, and it doesn't end. And it's really weird because I'd rather have Malcolm Floyd, who I believe had to retire due to health injuries, health issues and all that. But I liked Malcolm Floyd more. I never liked Michael Floyd. I don't know what your take is on him, but I guess really my bad take here was Justin Blackmon, but I just kind of had to crap all over Michael Floyd.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Notre Dame fan, as you mentioned, so I liked Michael Floyd, but I certainly didn't think that he was a superstar by any means. But, of course, I, had to like him somewhat, being a loyal Notre Dame fan.
Yeah, and I don't know if this, when you record podcasts every single day, you forget what is recorded and what's not. So, when we were talking with AJ during the draft, it might have been either post-recording or during the recording. I had a really bad take with Myles Garrett. Remember that when I said Charles Harris was the better pass rusher than Myles Garrett back in the day?
That was funny.
So yeah, that was
but to be fair, I really like Charles Harris too. I think everybody probably thought that would turn out different.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't something I was like proud of. Like now, like I'm just kind of like, oh boy, that Myles Garrett's gonna end up being a star, and at least I wasn't all for Greg Robinson, and I was more Aaron Donald, and probably at the time Blake Bortles. But I mean, I preferred Khalil Mack. I wouldn't have minded Blake Bortles. I thought any one of those three really.
Yeah.
You have any more takes?
I don't.
You're out of them? I'm going to clean
weird.
Mine out. Ready?
Okay, you go. Because I know I have more somewhere, but weirdly, these were just what I could find.
Monty Ball will be the next Marshall Faulk.
Oh my gosh. That's your worst one.
That was really sad what happened with him. I really liked him. But
yeah,
Cam Irving, just the thought of me wanting him in the draft, I mean, he's been abysmal, so no. Ruben Randall, and then Vontaze Burfict. Not that Vontaze Burfict is a bad player, but he just doesn't seem like a good person. So I don't like him at all. I personally think he should be kicked out of the NFL. I mean, I just think he just goes headhunting the entire game, and I have a problem with that. So those are my bad takes. Alexis finished hers. So now, before we get into our Dalton Risner interview, we have our Bad Takes mailbag. And we did not forget, you guys. Chase Butler puts Sam Bradford is the answer. Bad take. Kylo RN of Downtown Rams. Tavon Austin is the best offensive weapon in the draft. Man, I feel so bad every time I say something that, demeans Tavon.
Me too, because, and to be fair, for a while, I think the Rams just never could figure out how to use him. And by the time they kind of did, it was just too late, So I feel bad.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I would make the argument that they, I think the way they viewed him when they traded up for him was the wrong way to view a player. Don't view a player like he can be a gadget guy. Look at him. Can he be, our big-time receiver? And if he can't, don't draft him. He's a receiver,
right?
And I felt as though he was kind of like a Deshaun Jackson, and I felt like he could be better. And the Rams never used him out wide. And look, I get it. He didn't really understand, the play calling, and apparently he had a hard time picking up the playbook, and that was his issue. But to me, he should have been used way more as a vertical threat. And the way they used him against the Colts, that one game, he had 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Shame on them, because they had a blueprint for his success, and they kind of threw it away. And I would also make the argument his 2015 season was warranted of a new contract. I don't think he should have gotten paid like a legitimate receiver, but I absolutely felt like he earned his extension in 2015. Absolutely. He had 10 total touchdowns, had over 1,000 yards of total yardage. I thought absolutely he should have, been brought back. It is what it is, but I do like Tavon Austin. And I don't forget guys that are just good people. I don't forget guys like Todd Gurley that, are really big, and yet he came right up to, the gates after the Rams-Giants game in 2017 and sat there and autographed and took pictures. And, I mean, the bus was leaving to go back to, the airport and then to L.A. So, like, they don't wait for you. I mean, they're going to wait for Todd Gurley, but they were hurrying him up, and he still did that. Robert Woods, guys like that. So I don't forget guys like that. But Tavon Austin, without him, the Rams wouldn't have known where we were, sitting outside. Tavon Austin actually got their attention. So forever grateful for him, because I got to meet all the, the top-notch Rams, except for Donald walked by acting like we didn't matter. But I kid. Donald was just kind of in his zone, listening to some music, and headed right to the bus. And
Aaron Donald can do no wrong, okay?
I'm gonna defend him. I mean, like, I'm not gonna hate on him, So,
yeah.
But none of that happens without Tavon Austin. So that was really cool getting to meet all those guys. Our own Alex Kelly, the Rams should trade for AB. I thought that's funny that he
Please,
put that.
I'm so tired of people saying that, and I know that he's kidding, because he knows that that's a bad take, obviously. But like, some people are serious about it.
Alex Kelly, and he puts in quotes, "The Rams are getting OBJ -you." He's talking about me, and I literally put it in the thing. And at the bottom, he says, "Haha, I kid," but I ended up doing it anyway. Mike Cox, the Rams should trade Todd Gurley. Yeah, that's a really dumb take. B-Man, Peters is the worst cornerback in the league after week 8. Yeah, that was I don't know who made that take. Did you make that take, B-Man? Come on, man. Let's see. Alex Kelly, paraphrasing, with the quotes, the Rams have hit their peak. The Chargers are the best team in LA, and that is by Colin Cowherd. And it's kind of been a shame, because I was a huge fan of Colin Cowherd at my last job when I was allowed to listen to podcasts. I didn't work in a call center, so I listened to his stuff every single day, and I loved Colin Cowherd. And then I just feel like he kind of went downhill, where, kind of just looking for, the big news and just dropping the big clickbait, like saying stuff like that. Like the Colin Cowherd, back when I used to work at my former employer, probably would have said, he would have stuck by his guns with the Rams, because he said the Rams, excuse me, were going to win like 10, 11 games the year in 2017. So, he was ahead of the curve, kind of like me. Like, I had them going 11-5, and sure enough, they go 11-5, and then I pick them to go 14-2 this year, and they go 13-3. But Colin this year, regardless of how he thought they would be, he started off confident in them, and then he comes out and says that they've peaked, and it was just didn't make any sense. And his love for the Chargers was outrageous, and I don't get too much into it, but it was kind of weird seeing how his takes just got bad. But Kylo RN again, the Rams should re-sign C.J. Anderson. I don't see how that's a bad take, man. This is the one I disagree with.
What else? Oh, did you say that Jesse Vargas, Carson Wentz is greater than Jared Goff?
So I don't think it's as close as people. I don't think it's as far away as people think. I think it's closer than people think. Right now, I take Jared Goff over Carson Wentz solely off his injuries. But if Carson Wentz stayed healthy, I think that's the thing. Rams fans need to be thankful for what they have in Jared Goff, because
right.
The key with him is that he has durability. This guy gets hit hard, and he keeps getting right back up. And, he continues to be your quarterback. He started every game since McVay took over, except for the game that they sat their starters. So, I think that's really why you would take Goff over Wentz. But I still don't think people realize how amazing Wentz is. I mean, 2 years, his second year, he was unbelievable, and without him, the Eagles aren't in the position to, win, get the first overall seed in the playoffs and have that, ability to host and have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. I mean, playing in Philly during, January is brutal. That's a home field advantage, because only Philly guys really know, what Philly's like. So, they play in all the time. So, I mean, really, I think Carson Wentz has a lot to do with that. And so with that, I think really the only bad take is Kylo RN, our guy. I don't agree with the Rams should re-sign C.J. Anderson as a bad take. But that was quick. Kind of wish you guys participated more, but that was, I enjoyed that. I thought that was good.
Yeah, and I already know I'm going to, later on find even worse takes that I made. Yeah. But for now, I think it was bad. I had some bad ones, especially, for whatever reason, I had really bad Rams free agency takes and trade takes.
Yeah, no, I hear you there. So I think that is going to do it for that portion. The rest is all you and I, and we bring on Dalton Risner. So
I'm really excited for people to hear this.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and going from a Kansas Jayhawk and Joe Deneen, who I thought that interview went very well, and then just going right to Dalton Risner from Kansas State. It shows we're not biased here. we got a Notre Dame guy, we got a Kansas guy, and then we got a Kansas State guy. And then who's your biggest rival, would you say?
Can I not?
Can you?
Wait, you want me to say who my biggest rival is?
Yeah, from Notre Dame. For Notre Dame. Who's your biggest Notre Dame rival?
Oh, I thought you were bringing up the Mizzou-Kansas rivalry.
No. Who's your biggest Notre Dame rival?
I don't know. That we had on the show?
No, just in general.
Oh, I don't know. There's so many. My instinct is to say Penn.
Penn State?
Yeah, or USC, probably.
Oh, yeah. Well, we did have Biggie Marshall on the podcast via Senior Bowl. So,
Michigan.
So Michigan.
Is that? I'm just trying to figure out who you're thinking of.
I'm not thinking of anybody in particular.
Oh,
I was just showing.
I'm so
people,
lost.
I was just showing people that we're not very biased. Well, we're not. Yeah, we're not biased.
Well, I thought that was a trick question.
No,
yeah. Okay.
No.
Well, then we need to get someone probably. I'd say from USC on. In recent. in recent years.
We got Biggie Marshall via the Senior Bowl, so it sounds like we have to get someone from Michigan on, if that's,
Well, there's someone that I don't want to say, but I'm trying. I'm working on.
You're working on, huh?
Who might be coming on, but that's from Michigan.
Oh, I see. Wow. So Dalton
with all
Risner,
that,
bring it on. Podcast interview starts now. All right, guys, joining us on the podcast, he is Kansas State's brutal offensive lineman, and he's one of our favorites in the draft. Please welcome Dalton Risner. How's it going, man? Thanks for joining the show.
Hey, I appreciate it. I'm glad to be on here, and thank you for having me on, man. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, no worries. We're both Jake and I are big fans of yours, and somebody that we've talked about a lot on this podcast, and have had nothing but great things to say about you. So we were really excited to get you on, and we're super pumped to be able to talk to you.
Well, it means a lot. You had good things to say, and I'm just as excited as you guys are. So thank you once again.
Yeah, of course. And I guess just to kind of start this thing off, when was it that you started playing football? And at what point did you say, hey, I can play in the NFL one day, and that's something that I'd want to do?
I started playing football ever since I was about 5 years old. And I've always been the type of kid that has kind of set my goals high and believed in myself and never let myself feel like I can't do anything. So playing football ever since I was 5, I learned a lot about the game. And the NFL and playing Division I football was always a goal of mine. It was always something that I believed that I could do. But I really didn't understand that I could play or believe in myself truly that I could play in the NFL. And probably until I got to college, my sophomore year, I was going up against Solomon Thomas, top 5 overall pick, I think in the 2016 draft. And I was a redshirt sophomore. It was my first start at right tackle. And I was going up against him, and I had one of my best games of my career. I gave up no sacks and no pressures to a guy like that. And after that game, I kind of looked at myself in the mirror and said, hey, you just went up against a top guy, and you just deserve to play in the NFL, and you're a guy that can do this, and kind of proved to myself that it was possible. And ever since then, it's kind of been all uphill.
Yeah, that's awesome. Obviously Solomon Thomas is somebody I had really high on my board, and I think it's just funny, hearing you. Obviously, everyone's human, and hearing you talk about it, it's like that was kind of the moment you realized. I mean, we're just kind of looking at the tape, and we're like, I mean, any moment you not realizing that you could make the NFL. I mean, it's just we're blown away. We're rooting for you, and it's really impressive. But I mean, as a Kansas fan, what made you choose Kansas State?
Yeah, man. I kind of told you a little bit about my story, but I come from a small town of Wiggins, Colorado, with 900 people, and I'm really passionate. I could talk to you guys for probably an hour about this whole story, but plain and simple, I didn't have any teams coming through Wiggins, Colorado to check out talent. My story's a little bit different. I wasn't a 5-star recruit. I had to go to 15, 20 camps this summer. I gave up going to the lake. I gave up hanging out with friends. I worked on football, became a job at an early age. Starting 8th grade year, I went to 15 or 20 camps. And that was just to get coaches to notice me. Hey, I've been emailing you. This is my name. I'm going to be back next year. And then after 2 or 3 years of doing that, by my sophomore year, coach was like, hey, Dalton, you've been here the last 3 years. Like, how's everything going? Then they finally open my tape, because no teams open a tape when they see 1A football. It's just tough. And, I had 17 guys on my football team, and it was just kind of a different story. So K-State was one of the teams that decided to open my film, and they ended up offering me along with, I think I had around 15 scholarship offers. And I've always been a little bit different. I love this game of football, but I also realize that it's a means to an end. There's always, no matter how great of a football player you are, there's always an end to the game of football. And at Kansas State, underneath Hall of Fame coach Bill Snyder and Coach Charlie Dickey Moffin, the line coach, as well as the fan base and the community and everything about it, they helped establish real quick that they were going to turn me into a better man, a better father, a better husband, a better boyfriend, whatever you want to call it, before a better football player. And that's what matters to me. I believe the way you treat people and the type of man you are means a lot more than how you play the game of football. And that's exactly what they did in my 5 years. So that's kind of how I found Kansas State. and kind of the reason I fell in love with them.
Yeah, that's awesome, especially, when you talk about not only the things that you learned football-wise at a university, but just life experience and having great mentors around you and great people. And as you mentioned, not having a lot of colleges looking at your tape, from going from that to then being invited to play at the Senior Bowl, I mean, that must have just been an amazing feeling for you. And what was that like, from your perspective? When did you find out that you were going to go play in the Super Bowl, and what was it like being able to play there and compete against guys of extreme talent?
It was awesome when I found out that I was going to go to the Reese's Senior Bowl. This whole college career, I got to college and didn't know if I was ever going to play, and then before I knew it, I was starting as a redshirt freshman, and then I ended up being a 4-year starter and a 3-year captain, and things just kept coming, and I kept, succeeding, and my hard work kept paying off, and I started getting all Big 12 and all American. And then when my senior year came around, I was told, halfway through the season that I was going to be one of the priority invites for the Reese's Senior Bowl, and that was something that I thought about ever since I was a kid. Between that and high school All-American games, I was honored. And once you get to this level, you think that you freak out, but really, you look at that and I'm human as everyone else is, and you always want more. And you say, yeah, well, I believe that I deserve to be invited to the Senior Bowl, and I can't wait to go and perform. And I definitely took time to be appreciative that I went, but at the same time, I'm competitive, and I knew that I belonged there, and I was, so anxious to go and compete. And the same goes for, getting invited to the Combine. And, as much as I'm excited for the NFL and how much of an amazing process this is, I know that I deserve to be in the NFL, and that I've worked hard to be in the position I'm in. And human nature is to always want more, but I think I do a good job of taking breaks and reflecting on how far I've come.
Yeah, it just, you can tell, I mean, you just seemed like such a great person, just off the field. I mean, I told you off the air, I mean, I was trying to get a word in with you, and you had people surrounding you the whole time, so unfortunately I wasn't able to do the interview, but I'm glad, we're doing it now. Obviously, this is a lot more, one-on-one, two-on-one, so a lot easier than kind of just trying to get a word in while someone's shoving a mic up your nose. But, I thought really you stood out to me then, and I saw you on the football field, at the Senior Bowl, and I was just like, okay, this guy checks every box. And, I just wanted to, commend you for having an absolutely, fantastic week. But, with that being said, as somebody that played tackle, I mean, how do you prepare, when you're going up against a speed rusher versus, say, a power rusher? I mean, how do you prepare yourself anyway to go up against somebody like that? The variations in technique and just the variations in body, and obviously, some guy might have bend, some guy might not have bend. So how do you do that, as a tackle?
Yeah, well, first off, I appreciate it, man. I also believe that I had a great week, and it was a great experience. But, coming from the tackle position, you have to learn real quick that you deal with different types of players. A big part of my game is watching film and preparing for the different guys that I play. And I prepare a different way each week based off my opponent. Sometimes you got a bigger guy that sticks in gaps, more of a run stopper, isn't really quick. Then you get some guys that are the opposite, or guys that are both. And it's a mix. You really got to watch film and see what guys are good at and see what their tendencies are. But when it comes to how I play, say, you get a speed rush. I went against all sorts of guys this year. You're a KU fan, right? Out of all the guys I went against this year, Daniel Wise was the biggest run stopper that I went against. I mean, Daniel Wise is 6'2" or 3", whatever you want to call it, and he's every bit of 280, 290 pounds. I don't care what his weight is on the roster. He is a big kid, and he does a great job at stopping the run. He does a good job at sitting in gaps. He's extremely strong. So lining up with a guy like that, and they don't run a base 4 defense. They run a 3-down, 4-eye technique, head up or inside shade to me, and that's down my neck, and that's a big man. So, when you're going up against a guy like that, you focus on a lot more physicality throughout the week. You focus on coming off the ball. You're not taking steps to keep your balance. You're not taking, subtle steps to make sure you keep a guy on inside shade. You're coming at a guy because he's coming at you. He's not going to get tricky. He's not going to be pulling too many moves. He's coming off the ball. and it's time to get nasty and time to get physical. So when it comes to being physical, taking steps upfield, not just holding the line, but getting off the line and winning at the line of scrimmage, things like tight hands, it's so crucial. And whenever you got a guy like that, you don't worry so much about the pass and having to vertical set 5 yards downfield because the guy's coming from a wide 9. You worry more about getting your hands on a guy like that because he's big and strong. You don't want to give him space. And then on the flip side, I went up against a guy by the name of Montez Sweat from Mississippi State, exact opposite from Daniel Wise. If he lined up head up across from me in the run game, I'm probably not going to be too worried about it. But when he winds up on a wide 9 and it's 3rd and 14, and Montez Sweat is 6'7", however much he weighs, extremely strong and extremely fast. That's dangerous, and it's a whole different style of play. You got to kick off the ball and get 5 yards downfield and beat him to your spot. And you can't really come at him too much because he's got moves. He has hands. He can spin. He can juke. He can carve the edge around you with his speed. Something that isn't as easy for a guy that's a power rusher, a guy that's a run stopper like Daniel Wise. So. Not to say that they're one-sided players. They're both extremely good football players. So that's just kind of a little insight on how you deal with different types of football players like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you definitely faced a very diverse group of players throughout your career, different types of, defensive players who are all very talented, but like you said, also very different. And who would you say, out of all the guys you played against in your career was your toughest matchup?
I'd say, I don't know if it's because I was a redshirt freshman, 18-year-old kid playing football, and he was a fifth-year senior. It might have been why, but Vernon Butler from Louisiana Tech, second-round draft pick to the North Carolina Panthers, extremely good football player. I think he's still in the NFL now. He just had a heyday with me, and I wish I could get another shot at him, but he's the one guy that I look back in my 5 years and just say he was pretty tough to block.
Well, I'll tell you right now, you'll probably get your shot at him. If you're on the Panthers, you'll go up against him in practice, and if say you're in the NFC, you'll probably see him a lot as well. I wouldn't be so sure that is you've lost your opportunity there, but but moving on. I mean, we talk about matchups, and I love that you bring up guys like Daniel Wise and Montez Sweat. But I want to know, what was your favorite game you played in? Because, I mean, there's a lot up there. And, the thing that's great about the Big 12 that, I think the Big 12 gets overlooked often. I know it sounds weird because Oklahoma seems to be always in, the college football playoff. But aside from them, I feel like they're an overlooked, conference. I feel like if you're not in the SEC, you don't get, the big talk. But I mean, the fact of the matter is there's so many different rivalries. You have, obviously Kansas and Kansas State is a close game, even if Kansas isn't a good football team that year. And then you have, obviously, Texas and your Oklahoma and your Oklahoma State and Iowa State now, and, what Matt Campbell's doing out there. So, I mean, what was your favorite game that you played in college?
Yeah, my redshirt sophomore year, we went 9-4, had a good season. And played Texas A&M in the Texas Bowl down in Houston, Texas. And they had Trevor Knight. They had Myles Garrett, a number 1 draft pick. On the other side, defensive end. I don't remember his name, but I think he ended up getting drafted in the second round. And they just had so much talent that year. And we came in and we beat them, and it was like a home game for them. College Station was maybe an hour from Houston, and it was a away game. It was all A&M. It was all Aggies. No one predicted us to win. And we went in there and we beat Trevor Knight and Texas A&M. And Texas A&M was SEC. No one gave us a shot. And we beat them. We won a big bowl game and finished off a great season. And that was just an awesome experience. It was my first year at captain, so I got to get up on the big stage, like every football player dreams of after winning a championship game. You get up on the big stage and get interviewed and confetti's falling. And it was just a cool experience, man. I wish it was a Big 12 championship or a national championship or a playoff game, but it was still a great experience, man.
Yeah. And, you're a guy who, when I watch the tape and I watch you play, you seem to be a player of many strengths, but I'm always curious, to ask somebody, what in your opinion is your biggest strength as a player?
Yeah. I appreciate it. I think that one thing that, I bring to the football field when I play is I play with a chip on my shoulder. Anyone that watches my film, you're going to see plays where you're wondering, what was going through his mind? Why is he going that hard at a guy even after the whistle. Like, was he mad? What was wrong with him? And I believe that I just have a certain passion and energy for this game that affect my teammates around me, and it affects my play in a positive way. I just go out there and I finish every play to the whistle. I enjoy putting guys in the dirt. I don't want to call myself a nasty football player, a dirty football player, but I'm a tough-nosed guy. I'm a blue-collar guy that loves the game of football and loves to drive guys into the ground. And I think that that's the type of club that I fit in. I think I'm a great pass protector, and I can fit in a tempo offense, but I think where I truly fit in is a hard-nosed team that just wants to run right at people.
Yeah, it's funny that you say you don't want to be called nasty, but I mean that's kind of a good thing as an offensive lineman. Dirty's different, but like I'm just gonna say this right now. You really remind me of a former Ram, because this is a Rams podcast. You remind me of a former Ram by the name of Harvey Dahl, and it's just you got that edge to you where I feel like you obviously, I heard you at the Senior Bowl. You want to play right tackle. But I feel like you could play any position on that offensive line. Hell, I think you could play center. If you really wanted to, I think you could probably do it. So, I love, obviously, the versatility. I think that's something that would be there. But with, that being said, and I just felt like throwing that out there, what would you say is your biggest weakness in your game right now?
Yeah, well, first, I appreciate that, man. I think I'm the type of football player where your coach says, Dalton, you're never going to be a right tackle. You're not a good right tackle. I say, all right, coach, well, I'm going to be the best interior offensive lineman you can be. Or if he says, hey, you're not a guard, you're not a center, you're a tackle, then all right, I'm going to play tackle, whether it's left or right. So I think that's kind of an edge that I bring to my game that I believe is going to help me throughout this process. But when it comes to my biggest weakness and what are things that I can always work on, you talk to the Joe Thomases of the world, you talk to the David Bakhtiari's, you talk to these, Whitworth, you're a Rams fan, you got old Whitworth on the offensive line there, old vet. Talk to guys like that, and what are they going to say? They're going to talk about how they always can get better, and when they watch a game, there's never been a perfect game in their entire career. And you say, really? You're a guy that's played in the NFL for 10, 15 years, and, it's absolutely right, is that you could finish a guy into the ground, but you might have your right hand outside on his jersey whenever you need to have it inside, or you might have taken a false step. At the offensive line position, that's why I love it so much, is there's always room for improvement with technique, whether it's first steps or hand placement or head placement or finishing a block or cutting a guy off on the backside or reaching a guy play side. It's just every game and every play, there's always room for improvement. That's why I love the position. And those are little things that I constantly work on to get better and better as I get better throughout my career.
Yeah, and speaking about that position, who would you say you most want to stonewall in the NFL? What guy are you looking forward to doing that to?
Anyone in the NFL that I get opportunity to go against is going to be a pleasure. And, there's a lot of guys that I look forward to going against. But Von Miller, he plays for the Denver Broncos. I'm a Colorado boy, born and raised. Raised in Colorado. I was born in Missouri, but raised in Colorado. Big Denver Bronco fan. And Von Miller is one of the best pass rushers in the league. I've seen him, embarrass and take over plenty of tackles and plenty of games in his career. And, the day that 58 lines up from across from me, is going to be a pretty cool experience, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's, it's funny, your responses. I love them, man, because this is why we love interviewing, different prospects. You get kind of a picture. Obviously, we weren't around to get to know you for over the last, however many years you've been alive. But, I think it's really cool because, some people have different answers for that. I've literally spoken with somebody that's like, I want to sack Tom Brady. Like, I want to do that right now. Like, I'm like, okay, all right, like, cool. And then and then yourself, you're just like, it seems like you're more honored just to be in the league. And while you know that you belong there, it's like, it's cool that you have this humbling nature about yourself. And I want to know what it is with nasty on the field offensive linemen being the nicest guys off the field. I don't understand it. How do you flip that switch? Like, as soon as you step on the field, man. And then when you go off the field.
It's just one of those things that I was raised in this small town of Wiggins, Colorado, and I was raised to be grateful for every situation that I have. I know that I belong in the situation I'm in, but not very many kids from small towns like where I'm from get a chance to do what I do. So when you talk about the humble and the humility, that's where it comes from. I know that I deserve to be in the NFL, but I have no right to talk about burying Von Miller in the dirt because he's played in the NFL and I haven't. So I wouldn't dare say anything like that. And God forbid Von Miller listening to the podcast right now. I don't want him having my number the first time I get across from him. So that's kind of where that comes from. But that's just kind of how it is. But you asked, what was the question that you were asking about aside from that?
I was just wondering how you flip the switch, because
Yeah.
just to be that guy on the football field and then be this nice of a person, and you're not just putting on an act. I do want people to know, like, I watched you at the Senior Bowl, and either that or you're just a really good actor. But
no, that's one thing that I decided to do throughout this process is remain who I was. My agent told me one of the most important things. He said people that get in trouble and they struggle in this process are guys that aren't themselves, because in one interview there's someone and then the next interview there's someone else, and they lose track of who they're supposed to be. So the easiest thing to do is be yourself, whether it's good or bad, and be who you are. And that's something that I am. I'm going to tell it how it is. I'm going to be who Dalton Risner is. I'm comfortable in that. And that's what makes this easy. That's what makes talking in interviews easy. That's what makes, you're talking about media day at Senior Bowl. It makes it all so much easier. But when I was growing up, my dad was my Pee Wee football coach, and he taught me something, and it was called the switch. And I don't just say that. He instilled that in me from day one and talked about how the great football players, when they touch the field with their cleats, they realize that it's different. It's not like everyday world. It's not nice. You're not out there to make friends. You're out there for business. And he taught me that when I'm playing Pee Wee football. And it obviously grew stronger and stronger, and it really kind of hit me when I got to college that, hey, I'm out here to make a career. I'm out here to put food on the table for my family someday. So every time I touch that field, I'm not out here to make friends. I don't care if I leave here with 10 less friends than whenever I came out. I'm out here to prove myself, and I'm out here to compete. And that's what I do. So going into Senior Bowl, I told myself that whenever I touch that field, hey, I'm going to work, and there's a job to be done, and there's a goal that needs to be completed. And that's kind of where the switch comes from. And that's where you see, me off the field compared to what I am on the field, because there's a difference in what's going on. And I take a lot of pride in that for sure.
Yeah. And that's awesome. And I completely, understand that switch mentality. I played soccer from the time I was 5 all the way through college. And I had this one coach who taught me the term reckless abandon, which I'm sure you've heard many, many times. And when I watch you play, I can see it. It's just getting on the field and giving everything you got 110% the entire time. And I really respect people who not just say that, but you can watch them and see that they really put everything they have on the field, and they flip that switch. They can be the nicest person, like I think you are when you're off the field. But when you get on the field, you want to win and you want to compete, and you respect the game enough to just give it all you got. I think it's awesome.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's definitely how I approach it. I love being myself off the field and making friends and the relationships I have. But whenever it comes to the football field, definitely, it's reckless abandon, and you got to go out there and you got to make your money, and you got to put food on the table for your family. And that's what I plan on doing in the NFL as well.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Without a doubt. And, obviously we mentioned it earlier. This is a Rams podcast, so we need to know if our guy Dalton Risner has met with the Rams yet.
Yes, sir, I have. Up in Senior Bowl, we do formal interviews, and you actually get to meet with all 32 teams. But there's a my Rams area scout. I couldn't tell you his name, but he has been coming to Kansas State games for the last 3 years, and I recognize him because I've seen him so much. I'm pretty sure his name's Steve Kaiser, and he comes through Manhattan, and I went up to him. I was like, hey, man, I've been seeing you for the past 2 or 3 years. And obviously, he knew who I was. And I got to sit down with him, and, he asked me a lot of the questions that, the general questions that the, area scouts do. And I had a great time talking with him and let him know that I'd be seeing him up in Indianapolis. And hopefully I get the chance to sit down with McVay and a couple other of the coaches down there for Los Angeles, man.
Yeah, we certainly hope so. I mean, we would be absolutely freaking out if you ended up in Horns. I mean, that would just be incredible.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
And I guess to just kind of close this out, kind of the big question is, who would you say is Dalton Risner as a player, and who is Dalton Risner as a person?
Yeah, that's a good question. Whenever it comes to who I am as a player, I kind of talked about it a little bit. Whenever I'm a player, I'm not only going to be that, nasty, tough-nosed, blue-collar football player on the field getting after guys, but I'm a guy that's going to bring a lot of leadership to my football team. Aside from football, I'm going to show up to the facility. I'm going to lead guys. If a culture needs to be changed, I'm going to help change the culture. And if I go into a club that already has a great culture, I believe I'm going to fit that culture really well. And I'm going to lead my teammates. I'm going to get my teammates better. I'm going to bring up others around me instead of bringing them down. And I think that that's something that is there's a lack thereof in today's sports world. There's a lot of great football players, but the leadership is lacking. And, that's something that I'm really comfortable with and something that I'm looking forward to doing at the next level. And whenever you talk about who am I off the field, I'm someone that has a heart for others. I love making others smile. I love caring for other people. I think that we were put on this world to love others. And I think we're put on this world to spread God's love and spread God's word. Faith is by far the most important thing, way above football. I believe that's why I'm truly down here. So off the field, I love to impact others in a positive way. I want to be a good role model. I want parents to look at me and say that's who they want their kids to be like. And I just take a lot of pride in my relationships and things of that nature.
That's awesome. That's a really good answer.
Damn, Dalton. Blown away over here. I mean, it's like I said, it's funny, you're considered a rival of KU, but I mean, I've been a fan of your game for a while, and I just wish you the best of luck, man. Let's stay in touch. I'd love to see you in Horns, but regardless, if this is the last time we speak, you will definitely see us on social media cheering you on and shouting you out. So good luck with everything.
Hey, well, thank you.
For the love of God, stay healthy.
I will, man. I feel great right now. Excited to leave for the combine on Monday. And if you both ever need anything, feel free to contact me. I'd love to come back on anytime that you guys need it. So thanks again. And it was an honor to have you guys call.
Yeah, of course. Thanks so much, Dalton. Just echoing what he said, fan for life. And I can't wait to see what you do. And I have no doubt that you're going to absolutely just blow people away.
Right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks again, Dalton. You take care.
All right. Thanks, y'all.
All right, guys. That was Dalton Risner, and I hope you guys enjoyed, because that was a lot of fun, and he's just an awesome dude. I just got to say, one of the biggest takeaways, I've never had, no matter who I've interviewed out of any player, and I love all the players that, take time to come on the Downtown Rams podcast, so I'm not knocking any of them, but Dalton did something that no one's ever done, and he basically said, if you need anything, let me know. If there's anything I can do for you, let me know. That was cool. I don't know. It's a small thing, but it kind of goes a long way. So, I appreciate that. And I'm sure many of you know, a lot of the draft Twitter guys know how nice of a guy Dalton is. So it doesn't surprise them. But for the Rams fans that, are just trying to learn a little bit more about these prospects, this is what the interviews are for. And I'm going to give Alexis the floor because she was enthralled by this interview.
I was. I'm such a big Risner fan. I already was, but just after the interview and just you and I have talked a lot to him, off the air, and kind of gotten to know him, and just a guy who is just such a class act, and who somebody who I feel like I'm going to have to buy a Risner jersey no matter where he goes, because I just know that I'm just going to be such a big fan. And just if you aren't on the Risner train, I don't know what you're doing. He's one of a kind. I think he's really special.
I agree. And I think that I think what we're doing is kind of special. Obviously we started interviewing prospects. I didn't know who Alexis was back when I started doing that. It was 2017. I interviewed people like George Kittle, Kyle Sloter, David Jones, Javancy Jones, Daniel Antoine, all these different guys, Fish Smithson. And then I took it, last year I had guys like Ito Smith on the podcast, Deidre Sennett. Obviously I'm not naming every single one. And then, this year it's kind of like we went from, having guys like we had Quad Smith on, from Akron. Then I went to the Senior Bowl, and I was really bummed to start the Senior Bowl because I was like looking at my phone and the interviews I did, and I was like, this is not anywhere near where my goal was. And then I really started picking up things after the game, post practice interviews and all that. So that was awesome. We got that, and we just continue to truck along, and it's a lot of fun because you kind of add these guys as to that list, all guys that are friends of the podcast, and it's something really cool. So we enjoyed doing it, obviously, and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon.
No, and we have a lot of things lined up that are really cool and that I'm really excited about.
Yeah, a lot of things, and we're actually going to have, and I want to bring this up because it's been really fun, obviously, doing all this stuff, and things are just kind of falling into place, and we're growing, obviously, with the help of you guys, and we just recently acquired the Horns Up graphics, Instagram account, and we want to have the creator of Horns Up Graphics. We want to have him on for an identity reveal on Sunday, so we are looking forward to doing that. It's going to be a lot of fun, so you guys definitely need to check that out.
For sure, yeah, that's something that we're really excited about and really honored to, be a part of, and honored to be able to continue that Horns Up Graphics legacy. So, on Sunday, it's going to be live. We're going to have him on, and he'll share a little bit about his story and do an identity reveal, and it'll just be a chance for us to honor him.
Yeah, without a doubt. I'm looking forward to it. I like doing, all these interviews. I'm really looking forward to what the future holds. Obviously the prospect interviews might kind of die down after the draft because there's not really prospects after that. But we'll try to get, whoever, signs on with the Rams. We'll try to get players throughout the 2019 to 20 season. Rams, say the Rams play the Raiders, want to get a Raiders player on there to talk about their matchup, try doing stuff like that. And we'll get our analysts because, Alexis, I do want to bring on some draft analysts. I know you'd be interested in something like that. I think it'd be a lot of fun, obviously. I've had guys in the past, Emery Hunt, Matt Miller, Connor Rogers, Matt Waldman. So I've had, friends on before, Brad Kelly. I'd like to get all of the Draft Network guys on because, I'm a huge fan of what they do, and, just keep, exposing, this audience to different people because, again, it's easy to watch film on a player. It's easy to read about a player. It's easy to, think about a player, but you can't just find readily available interviews about any player. So, hearing somebody, it makes it a lot different. The same can be said for an analyst. So we're going to keep doing it, and we're really excited about what we have planned, and we're really excited about our Instagram. We're really excited just about, the way this is going. This has been an awesome offseason. We're on a huge pace, way ahead of schedule, and we don't plan on stopping anytime soon. So keep it right here. The podcast, downtownrams.com, at Downtown Rams on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. It's going to be a lot of fun, so you better be along for the ride.
That's for sure.
All right, so I think that's going to wrap this one up. For Jake Ellenbogen, she's Alexis Kraft. This has been the Downtown Rams podcast, episode 162. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll be back very soon. Later. Hello, listeners. Do you have a local business in or near Los Angeles? Are you trying to promote that said local business? Well, the Downtown Rams podcast is open to any and all business sponsorships. For details and any inquiries, please contact us at downtownrams@gmail.com, or you can direct message us on any social media platform that we currently use. Horns up.